The next question is concerning about there has been a large amount of large scale mods, story mods, total conversions, whatever term you guys would like to use. There's been quite a few announced over the past few years, and most of them have issues with not getting completed or getting off the ground or having a hard time getting off the ground in the first place. And the actual question is, where did they fail? Where were the issues? From looking at my own mod, I could say that I've experienced a lot, if not all, the frustrations that they all have felt. I had a 8 to 12 month learning curve as I was trying to get the during pre-production into production, and where I think a lot of them had issues is one, they were focusing on sometimes the icing. I always look at things as, let's say you have a cupcake and you have the actual cupcake bread, or and then you have the icing, and the icing is kind of like in the special effects, new modules, all these little things that make it look beautiful, while the cake itself is the core mechanics of it working, being bug free. Does the features work? Does the game play is balanced? Is the pacing proper? Is things laid out? Does the player know where they're going? Those are the things that are basically in the meat of it versus the icing. And the icing is a lot more appealing. And I think a lot of times from what I've seen in the forums is that a lot of people get caught up in the icing and they don't produce a prototype to see if their mechanics work in the first place and if they can get it to work. Another issue I've seen um, have issues with is that when you enter into a large scale mod with this, a lot of times the plot, again, myself, I had 32 pages. Before I even released the game is going to be actually worked on, and I would say to any group that's going to be working on a large scale mod, you really need a plot line, a beginning and the different key scenes that are going on, what's going on in the planets. It doesn't have to have every quest in there, but it needs to be able to know how the player is going to experience things throughout the game. And it's best to keep it within a small scale of people, just a handful of people or one individual. If you expand it too large within a team setup, everyone's got their own feelings on it, and you don't want to step on anyone's toes because everyone puts in their feedback, and if they don't feel you're actually listening, they can get frustrated. And when you're throwing around ideas in the beginning, that's where a lot of that stuff is going on, because even the person that's creating, maybe coming up with the original idea, is still filling out things and allowing new ideas or new feedback in there early on. Could derail things and cause it to become much more blurred for everyone. So, and everyone will get frustrated. So my advice on anyone is to uh, be created by one person or a small, like 2 3 people, and once the core plot, then you can actually bring in more team and have that, because then you have a foundation and then people can build on that foundation, different quests, and tweak things within party members or add new ones, and or merge others. But you really need that first foundation, because if not, that's going to cause a major issue and major delay in your pre-production. Another area of why a lot of these actually fail or get derailed is that I think that the sometimes you don't know how big of a project you're taking on, especially if it's a total conversion or large story mod. I prefer actually large story mod because that's really what you're doing. That's the core launching point. You're going from there. From there, you're maybe adding in new features or new characters, new skins. But the core thing is you're adding a new storyline, or you're merging a new storyline into an existing game story. A lot of times, people don't understand how big of a production. Even myself, I didn't even know how big of a production when I stepped into this. Um, I thought you create it, you write it, it comes in, you script it, but it's very much like even if you're gonna work on your own car, you realize that in order to get underneath the car, you need something to drive up onto, so you get underneath it, and then you might need certain tools, and then you need certain information and background information to be able to get to certain equipment as well, problem solve. And those are things that you usually don't see when you're going to just change something within the front of the car or work on something that's on the lower part, maybe a certain exhaust area. So expect whatever you expect in a sense of learning curve, just double it, because that's probably reality of what the learning curve will be. And it's gonna constantly, as you add new stuff, I know myself, you're constantly learning more, but as you learn more, you get faster at picking up the stuff and problem solving it and realizing what's important, what's not, and what could be worked on later on. Another section that derails or causes conflict within a large story mod is that the idea that creating a large team. Teams are good, but the idea is that you still need a quarterback. You need the coach, which is the person that's the brain of the story, the person that created the idea. Um, Now that could be more than one person, but you you can't depend on a full team to take on stuff, because really a team is meant to be interacting with you as you work with feedback with them to create to enhance the product of the actual mod. So the idea is that they might be able to work on a certain section. A good example of this is really voiceovers. I know myself, there's people that like to do voiceovers, and I'm looking forward to having them do them for the Revenge of Revan. But I also know that some people might be able to do them right now, and 3 months from now they might be doing finals and they might not be able to. So the ideas behind that is that I can't have them do them now if I don't have the dialogue finalized. So a lot of times it's more of a everything's got to be paced with it, and then you just have, when the proper time comes in, you see if you can get the person to be able to do the voiceover, or what would be the best time for them to be able to do it. So it's constantly keeping in contact with them. Um, but it works the same way with teams, whether they're working on skins, they're working on modules, cutscenes, models, new items. The idea is to allow them a lot of time to work on this stuff, because everyone has real life, and you have to be you can't give something out and expect them to do it within the next few days. That's just not reality. Reality is to introduce an idea, allow them to give feedback on it so they can give their own personality into the actual idea for maybe the skin or a certain item. Maybe allow them to write the back story of that item that's going to be in the mod, and then from there you can then give them a period of time when this might be needed, and then from there, even if you get to the point where it may not be ready, be flexible enough to be able to have a placeholder or be able to include it later on, because when it comes down to, that's the reality of within modding and getting it done, is to be able to have that flexibility to add in things and not having the item to actually put in. I would say one of the last things I'll talk about with the conflicts or things that derail story mods or large mods is that the idea that you have to have it done in a certain order. You have to have the plot first done, or you have to have all the NPCs skinned before you even write their dialogue, or you even lay them out. You could do everything roughly all at once. I know myself, when I mod, and I'm especially in the zone, usually it's broken down to 2 parts. There's the technical area, and then there's the creative area. And I have to switch pretty much left and right brain. So I'll spend time working on maybe writing. I'll have a Word document open, or writing quick dialogue. And some of the times I might not have time or might not have the moment where I get the dialogue the way I want it. So I write it the best way I can, and knowing that I'm going to come back and tweak it. Now, if I'm working on a technical area, I might be walking through a module, looking at where I want NPCs to be laid out. I'll get their layout spots, get their XYZ coordinates. While that, I might put them in there. And if I already mentally know, just from inspiration of placing the characters in the scenes, I might say this is going to be a merchant. So I might create a dummy dialogue that will say, would you like to buy anything? Have no script to it or anything, or access to a merchant thing. But the idea is that I could go back into that module, and when I'm actually building those dialogues, I can actually go in there, click on the NPC, see where it is, and remind myself what the NPC was about. I could have two NPCs talking about, and have them talking about whether it be the weather, the huts, whatever, that they're having some issues with their soup race funds. Whatever it is, you could put it in there, and then later on you could put the scripts in and the actual dialogue in there, and then from there, then you can put in the journal entries and quests, and you might find yourself tweaking things where you might find characters talking about things too often, and you want to diversify, so you might pull certain dialogue from certain other characters because it's just repetitive. So with that, you can actually do multiple things. You could be writing, doing the technical, doing script at the same time. I've done that where I'll be putting NPCs into a module with the coordinates, doing journal entries, writing code or putting code in for the dialogue scenes, even though it has dummy type where the character might say, just fight me, or would you like to buy this? I'll put the scripts in to access the code just to see that if it does work. If I want a character to walk a certain way, I'll put that in. If I'm putting NPCs walk around in the module, I'll put their scripts into the UTC file, and I could see them walking. So I would say my advice to anyone that's working on a large mod or module is to get the NPCs in there. Don't worry about if they have their dialogue finished. If you know what roughly they're going to talk about, even if you don't, just put something in there, what their mood is, and then you can even work on scripts if you already know if this is going to be a quest character, even if you don't know the dialogue there. Put it in there so that when you go back, you can actually literally test the quests, even though that the dialogue's not there. You can test it, make sure the quest works, and all you have to do is then throw in the dialogue, and then put in the alien voiceovers if you like. So my advice is that you could do multiple things at once. I would definitely tell everyone to do it. It takes a little getting used to having many different windows open, but it does save a lot of time. So that's my little tidbit of advice for you guys out there. I know in this question we've been talking about failed mods and conflicts and frustrations that a lot of you guys are feeling that are taking on these large tasks. But I want to just leave on a positive note for you guys that everything you guys felt in the frustration, I have felt myself going through it, and I'm sure people that have also released large mods as well have felt this as well. And my advice is to just stick with it. Just endure the actual struggle, and remember to just focus on the prototype, on the actual cake or the part, and not on the icing. The icing could be added, pulled back and forth. Features could be added. Once you guys understand the actual mechanics and getting the prototype working, getting modules to connect, be able to walk in from one scene to another, and have NPCs fight and talk, a lot of those stuff falls into place, and you'll be able to actually get inspired from that and actually build much cleaner features, much cleaner quests, and you'll be able to know what's possible, what's not to, instead of spending extra time working on something that might not be a scene that might not be doable within the engine itself. So definitely keep with it. You guys could definitely do it. I'm looking forward to seeing more of these large mods out there. I love story mods in general because I love a good story. So my advice to all you guys is definitely keep going. Listen to what I just said earlier and use it to apply it to your mods. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to send me a visitor message or even PM.